Welcome to the Candidate Forum for the Warrenville Fire Protection District, sponsored by the League of Women Voters serving the communities of Warrenville, West Chicago, Winfield, Wheaton, and Carroll Stream. My name is Barb Lymans. I live in West Chicago, so I will not be voting for any of the candidates participating in the forum this evening. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization that neither supports nor opposes candidates or parties for office. The League is not affiliated with any political party. The League's purpose is to promote civic responsibility through the informed and active participation of citizens in government and civil civic discourse. If there is controversy, our interest is to bring balance and fairness to the discussion and ensure that all parties are heard. Providing forums is a major mission of the League of Women Voters, so citizens can become better informed about the issues facing their community and to become better acquainted with the candidates running for office. All candidates were invited to participate in tonight's forum, but regrettably, candidate Denise Pertel responded she was unable to attend. The candidates will begin in alphabetical order with their 2-minute opening statement. They will then alternate the order in which they answer questions for 1.5 minutes, and after the question portion of the forum, each candidate will give a 1-minute closing statement. Members of the League will act as timers, and I will enforce the time limits. Should a candidate exceed the time limit, I will ask them to finish their sentence and move on to the next candidate. We have received questions from the community in advance of tonight's forum. To ensure that questions represent a balance of topics, a panel of experienced members of the League of Women Voters have reviewed the questions submitted for appropriateness, applicable to all candidates, and to avoid duplication. And we're grateful to the candidates for taking the time to be here with us this evening and to the community members who are joining us. So let us get started. Candidate Clemens, you have 2 minutes for your opening statement.
Hi, I'm Natalie Clemens. I'm running for the Warrenville Fire Trustee Board. I am a recent resident of Warrenville, moving in. I'm in my 3rd year living here. I am very interested in becoming active in the community. For work, I am an architect. I focus on fire stations and village halls, so I think I'm very prepared to come and contribute to the fire protection district here. And that's about it.
Thank you. Candidate Thompson, your opening statement.
My name is Al Thompson. I'm running for Warrenville Fire Protection District Trustee Board, 6-year term. I have been a resident of Warrenville since 1976. I served on Warrenville Fire Protection District for 30 years, retiring in March of 2020. I'm still active in the business. I'm a battalion chief for Argonne Fire Department currently. I know the district intimately. I know a lot of the people that already work here. I understand the challenges of the challenges of the district, the challenges of the business, what people go through to get this job, how difficult it is to keep them. I understand the community. I've watched a lot of the town grow up. I'm committed to being here. I'm going to stay here for the rest of my life, and I look forward to the election and hopefully get elected.
Thank you. The first question is going to begin with you, Candidate Thompson. Some fire departments are organized as fire protection districts, like Warrenville, and some are organized as part of their city government, for example, Naperville and Wheaton. What do you see as the strengths and the weaknesses of the fire district organization, and what do you think would be best for Warrenville?
Well, that's a great question. The strength of the district is you're not beholden to the city council government. You're not beholden to political whims. You do have an elected board, but the board is representative of the community. You have to live in the community. So you're not subject to the whims of the political landscape, but you do struggle a little more for resources. The tax levies are fixed. We don't have a city coffer we can go to, so the funding is usually more challenging. So those would be the.
Candidate Clemens, the same question.
Yes, I second that. I think that that is the advantage of having a fire protection district is you can reach outside of the boundaries of the city itself. That helps ensure faster response times as well. Oftentimes they're demarcated by train lines and stuff like that are actually location boundaries that help us as fire and rescue personnel assist the public faster. So that is a benefit of having a fire protection district. them also being independent from the city, they get to make choices not under the control of the mayor or anybody like that. Having the board help assist in those choices lets the Fire Protection act independently. And I do second what Al said here, that it is, the biggest challenge is getting funding and keeping that funding at a level that's high enough to keep the fire station up to date and keep all the citizens safe.
So I'm gonna follow up with the second part of that question. What do you think would be best for Warrenville? Candidate Thompson?
I think the current system is working. There are benefits to both systems. Each benefit comes with some pain. So I think currently it's working well. We're providing high levels of service in Warrenville, but down the road you're going to see some financial hurdles that you wouldn't have to cross if you were part of the city. So I think it's prudent to explore all options, possibly becoming a city department. I know around here there have been some departments that have done that, and it's been successful. So yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to exploring all avenues for future management of the department and the district.
Candidate Clemens?
I think that the Fire Protection District itself is very successful, and I feel in my experiences with other municipalities that the fire protection districts that remain independent have a bit more control over their own futures. So I would recommend the Warrenville Fire Protection District stay independent.
Great. Next question, Candidate Clemens, will begin with you. What do you think are the biggest 1 or 2 issues facing the Warrenville Fire Protection District, and how would you propose solving them?
First, funding. That is, with every fire protection district, that is the key, is funding. Second is that we are in a growing area with a lot of development in the past 7 to 10 years, and the fire protection district has to meet that growth and still provide for the citizenry. So I think, first of all, for the second part of the question, I think the fire department should, or the protection district should revisit what the plans for the city are and make sure that their staffing and their vehicles are in alignment with what the projection of the city itself is. And that takes a lot of coordination between the two departments. And funding wise, I've seen a lot of districts do some pretty different things in municipalities to get funding, and I'm not currently aware of how the district establishes its funding outside of tax, but I think we should look at some of the more creative ways that other districts are doing that.
And Candidate Thompson, what do you think are the biggest 1 or 2 issues facing the Warrenville Fire Protection District, and how would you propose solving them?
So I would agree with the funding piece of Natalie's answer. The funds are difficult to get. I do know that the chief is very creative. We ambulance bill aggressively here in Warrenville. Impact fees, they bill for plan reviews in the bureau. I know everybody's looking at creative ways to bring money in the door, keep the lights on. So I think that's being handled well here. The piece about joining a city is just another thing to explore. But I think honestly, one of the bigger problems that a lot of fire departments are having right now is recruitment and retention. The choke point for getting new people on board is the paramedic license. Their hospital systems produce paramedics, and they're not producing enough currently to meet the demand. We currently are in a Collar County ring that all got built out during the 80s and 90s, and all the guys and girls that staff those stations are retiring in droves. And this isn't the first year. I think we're probably in year 7. So I'd say that's a huge challenge, finding the people, attracting the people, and then keeping them, because everybody is paying top dollar for firefighter medics right now.
Thank you. Candidate Thompson, if you could only accomplish 3 things as a fire trustee, what would they be?
So I think, 2 of them we just hit. One would be to really assist, the people that do the job here are excellent. This place is staffed by some of the best. Provide the resources that the people that work here need to do the job. The equipment, the buildings, making sure that the lights stay on, they have the best, they're trained, they're well equipped. And the other would be to find some unique ways to solve this, the staffing issue that everyone is facing. It's really a burden on our business right now, on the fire service. So those would be the two things I think would, I would like to use my time and efforts towards solving.
Candidate Clemens?
From my personal experience, I would like to, and I have no agenda or timeline for this, I'm not coming in to impose it as a trustee member, but I would like to make sure that our fire station personnel are safe within the station, that we are taking proper measures for safety and cancer prevention, and also if we can, make sure that we are independently operating and training and doing all of that as much as we can within our own capabilities and being self-sufficient in doing so. So that might involve some, and it possibly goes to fighter retention and paramedic retention, improving some of the facilities here. Although, again, I have no personal agenda or timeline, which those need to go on.
Candidate Clemens, in your opinion, what is the role of a fire protection district trustee?
I think it's two-part. The first, I'm an elected person, so I need to represent the body of people that are electing me. And the second part is being a conduit to the chief to make sure that he has everything he needs in place to perform well and perform his duties well and perform for the citizenry.
Candidate Thompson?
Well said. I would say making certain that the people that are doing the job have the resources they need. Assist, I think, I prefer to think of these things as upside down pyramids, where the people doing the work are at the top, and we're spending our time and energy caring for them. And caring for the well-being of the firefighters would be the utmost concern. The job is kind of a soup that can lead to early death, and suicides, cancer, shift work. It's a pretty stressful job. So making sure that everybody has what they need to do the job.
Thank you. Candidate Thompson, there are currently 2 TIF districts in the city of Warrenville. How do you feel about these TIF, tax increment financing districts? How do you feel these affect the day-to-day operations of the fire protection district?
Well, the district doesn't receive any tax money from those. You can levy an impact fee when the TIFs are started, but that vote got missed a while ago. So there are going to be additional calls for service. I've heard that people are experimenting with adding additional levies, additional fees inside those TIF districts. So I don't know what the chief's doing specifically, but the city strikes the TIF, and generally the fire protection district has to deal with it.
Candidate Clemens?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. There are currently 2 TIF districts, tax increment financing districts, in the city of Warrenville. How do you feel these tax increment financing districts affect the day-to-day operations of the fire protection district?
Well, first and foremost, they increase the daytime calls. We are bringing people into our community, and therefore our ambulance and rescue has to adapt to that. We should be receiving funding for that. I know locally, nearby, the outside districts are going to sue for some of the TIF monies that the city is taking. I'm not suggesting we go on that route, but making sure that we can both cover what the residents need and what the daytime population needs is key to keeping this boat rolling.
Candidate Clemens, what do you see as the biggest threats to the fire protection district?
Funding.
You have to say that louder.
Funding. That's, it's funding. We gotta get funding in. I mean, I have full belief that we have the right people in place to do the job. It's just giving them the resources to do that job.
And Candidate Thompson?
I would say that's an important one, but I think currently recruitment and retention is the big struggle. So you're seeing it in the police business, they don't have enough police officers, because obviously a lot of people don't want to do that job anymore, so they're literally stealing from each other. And we're beginning to see that in the fire service, where they're offering firefighters laterals. The pensions got unlocked quite a few years ago, so you can start a pension in one district or department and then move to another, and there's continuity. So you're seeing a lot, we're about to see more movement. I really think getting the right people in the door and then figuring out ways to keep them. And I will say, this is a great place to be. I did 30 years here. It's a community. This is a really nice place to work. So that always helps keep people, having a good work environment. So we've got some really good people here. But recruitment and retention would be the main thing I would think is the biggest challenge.
Thank you. Candidate Thompson, what do you see as the greatest strengths of the Fire Protection District?
People. The people here are excellent. It's people. You guys. It's I worked shoulder to shoulder with a lot of these guys. I've seen the new men and women that have come on. This is like I've said, genuinely, this is a great place to work. And culture, Joe Madden said it, 2016 Cubs, culture eats talent for breakfast. So this place has a great culture, and I think if we can continue to keep that core element here, we'll do all right.
Candidate Clemens.
I have only been in the city for 3 years. I do have to say that I have noticed the tight-knit community within this city. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody's working for the betterment of everybody, and I feel very included already as a neighbor and a citizen. So I would say the community, I think, is one of the biggest strengths of the Fire Protection District. And I love it when the districts connect independently and do what's right for them. And I think that is part of this community, is that the Fire Protection District has that capability.
Candidate Clemens. As you know, the Warrenville Fire Protection District maintains one of the lowest fire protection district tax rates in DuPage County. With the rising costs of vehicles, utilities, personnel, etc., how would you fill any economic gaps or shortfalls that property tax may not cover?
Well, there is the, as you were saying, the ambulance call fees and all that stuff. One of the things that I have seen most successful in other independent districts and municipalities is setting up not-for-profits that can go out and fund independently and then bring that money and donate it to the district. And if we're not doing that, I think we should be. It's one way for the fire department, fire district to interact with the community more and make themselves even more established than they already are. But the funding and donations that come in off that are very high for other municipalities.
Candidate Thompson?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. As you know, the Warrenville Fire Protection District maintains one of the lowest fire protection district tax rates in DuPage County. With the rising costs of vehicles, utilities, personnel, etc., how would you fill any economic gaps or shortfalls that property tax may not cover?
Yeah, so imaginative fundraising. I've never heard of that. That's pretty interesting. I saw the president taking notes. Alternate funding sources. I think one of the things that's been bandied about quite a bit in the business is taking a look at our service delivery models. You know, is there something creative we can do? Still provide high levels of service, but can we alternate staffing? Can we change certification levels? Can we combine vehicles? We're talking about purchasing a ladder and an engine, which is called a quint. They do both things. So I think just creativity. It's going to take nonstop creativity to meet the challenges, because every year you're asked to do a little bit more with the same or less money.
Candidate Thompson, how does the property tax extension limiting law affect the budget of the Fire Protection District?
Well, essentially your funds dwindle over time. So the law reduces your funding, it caps your tax rate, and over time with the cost of living, the amount of money you have in the real world is diminishing over time. So that's a constant struggle, more for districts than municipalities, because you can't take advantage of sales tax or some of the additional levies that a city can do, especially a home rule like Warrenville.
Candidate Clemens.
A repeat of that, that's the definition of it.
You can say ditto.
Ditto. I think that with that in place, we need to max out what we can draw each year until we get to a point where we're not in a surge of, I'm sorry, not in a, like, not the recession, the opposite of recession.
Glut.
Inflation.
Yes, inflation. When we're out of that, we can then maybe bring those back down, but we do need to max what we can draw every year until we get leveled out.
Candidate Clemens, do you feel the education provided to the community on fire safety is sufficient? If not, how would you like to see those programs improved?
I think they can always be improved. I think even community outreach, reaching out to our youth seems to be a great way to improve that. Getting that instilled in them at a young age, just behaving safe with fire, knowing how to call emergency services, etc. I can tell you when I was a kid, this is from personal experience, we had the fire department came into our school and gave us a lesson on closing our doors at night in order if there's, and after that, my mom said me and my brother would never leave our doors open, and it drove her nuts, because in order to check on us, she'd have to go in and open our doors and it'd wake us up. But doing something as simple as that with our youth, it really instills it to become habits, and those safety habits are what leads people through life.
Candidate Thompson.
So I would say I think the public education outreach here is actually pretty good. Again, probably always improve, always looking to improve. I do know that they do school talks here. They hit all the schools at least once a year, usually during October, Fire Prevention Month. We do engage youth here. They have a Hot Shots program here at Warrenville Youth and Family Services, and they come down regularly, have a meal here. They do some training. They learn CPR or something along those. They take tours. We have a cadet program, so we do attract people from the community to through TCD, Technology Center of DuPage. They'll go and get college credits and get certifications, and they can begin working here. And then I know one of my favorite things to do when I worked here was the block parties. So I know that that's not necessarily education, but there's always education that goes on there. People want to know what everything's for. What do you do? Or you sleep at the firehouse, you know, so. Yeah, I think the outreach here is actually pretty robust.
Excellent, excellent. Well, this will be our last question, and it's back to some finances question. With a limited capital improvement budget, how would you fund the replacement of an aging fleet of emergency response vehicles? And we'll start with candidate Thompson.
So that's like everything else, you've got to be creative. I know a lot of places are going to leases, sharing rigs. ISO rates a community for its fire protection fire performance from 1 to 10, 1 being the best, and we're a 2 here, so we're doing things pretty well, but part of that is having the right equipment. So you can lean on the city and lean on some of the other taxing districts to provide funding for you. I know that they've explored that here. Creative funding, fundraising sounds like a great idea. I never thought of that. So yeah, that's a challenge. And you know, a ladder truck is well over $1 million now, but it's generally a 20 to 30 year piece of equipment. So.
And candidate Clemens.
He took my answer. Ditto. You know, it's hard. We have to keep up to date. We have to. So what we can pull from. I'm not afraid to say, you know, this is a service provided to the community. If we need to reach out for referendums, if we need to do that, it's a hard trigger to pull and nobody wants to do it. But looking at all of the options and then going back and trying to, we have to get the funding. There's no question about, do we live without it? It's finding the funding and finding the best way to get around it and making all of the taxpayers happy and not digging too much in on people who don't use the services as much as others, et cetera. So being a trustee, that kind of falls on our shoulders to make those decisions and take that out to the public. But we are working for the public, so it is the hard trigger to pull.
Well, that was my last question, but I'm gonna ask one more question, and that's, what question do you wish I had asked that I Hey, we're gonna start with candidate Clemens.
I think that I would have liked to hear you ask about the fire station's communication within the district and neighboring districts. I think it's very frustrating. We're not all of our district is on DUCOM, and I'd like to see that changed over as well.
And candidate Thompson.
I thought for sure you were gonna ask why I'm the best candidate. So, the answer to my question that I thought you were gonna ask would be experience. I've got 30 years in the trenches. I know what it takes. I love this place. I was a little bittersweet to leave. I would like to continue serving, and I think my experience puts me ahead.
Well, that brings us as a great segue into closing statements. So candidate Thompson, you have 1 minute for a closing statement.
So I won't take a whole minute. I would say I've been in town for a long time, 45 plus years. I live here. I'm raising a family here. I'm committed to staying here. I spent a lot of time inside these walls. I grew up here. I left and I'd like to come back. I think my experience speaks for itself, and I think I would love the opportunity to continue to serve the citizens of Warrenville and the whole district. There's Wheaton as well, and Naperville.
And candidate Clemens, your closing statement for 1 minute.
I have not lived here. I've lived here 3 years. I'd like to see myself as the future of the city. And I want to get that started as soon as possible. I want to be contributing and be a part of this city because I also plan to stay here forever. I think I have a lot to bring to the table with my just institutional knowledge of other municipalities, how fire stations work, how training works, et cetera. I'm not on the floor doing it, but I'm reading the code books that tell us what to do. So I think that I can really contribute, and I hope you vote for me.
Thank you. So please join me in thanking them for being here. Our democracy thrives when all of us are engaged. Attending or watching a candidate forum is an excellent way to be empowered to join discussions on local issues and make your voice heard on Election Day. We hope that each and every one of you will vote and inspire your family and friends to do the same. So please, if you'd like more information on the election, please go to the League of Women Voters website or the DuPage County Election Commission website. Early voting has begun, and make sure you voted by or on April 4th. So thank you. So one question for you. So I get this fire extinguisher.